The rain hit Evelyn Sterling's face like cold needles, each drop mixing with the tears she refused to acknowledge. Her designer heels, $600 of Italian craftsmanship, splashed through puddles as she ran down the darkened Boston street. The burgundy evening gown, custom-made for tonight's engagement announcement, clung to her body like a wet shroud. Behind her, the Ritz-Carlton ballroom still blazed with light. 500 guests, the cream of Boston society, were probably wondering where the bride-to-be had vanished. Her father would be maintaining his composure, that sterling smile never wavering. Marcus would be checking his Rolex, calculating how long to wait before it became embarrassing. She couldn't breathe. The corset beneath her gown felt like a cage crushing her ribs. Or maybe it was the weight of the lies she'd been living for 26 years. A car horn blared. Evelyn stumbled off the curb, her heel catching in a storm grate. The Mercedes came out of nowhere, or maybe she was too blind with tears to see it. Time stretched like pulled taffy. The headlights filled her vision. Her ankle twisted. She was falling. Strong arms caught her, yanked her back. The car rushed past, horns still blaring, drivers shouting obscenities through the rain. Evelyn found herself pressed against a solid chest, someone's heart beating rapid against her cheek. "Jesus," a male voice muttered above her head. "You trying to die tonight?" She looked up. Rain dripped from dark hair into eyes the color of winter ocean. A face that belonged in a different world than hers, rough stubble, a small scar through one eyebrow, the kind of bone structure that came from actual work, not gym sculptors. "Maybe," she heard herself say. He studied her for a long moment. Then, without asking, he shrugged off his worn leather jacket and draped it around her shoulders. It smelled like motor oil and rain and something indefinably safe. "Come on," he said. "There's a diner around the corner. You need to get warm." She should have protested, should have called. Her driver gone home faced the music. Instead, she let this stranger lead her through the rain, her broken heel forcing her to lean on his arm. The diner was a slice of different universe. Fluorescent lights, cracked vinyl booths, a waitress who called everyone "Honam." He ordered 2 coffees without asking what she wanted. She sat there dripping on the plastic seat, watching him stir sugar into his mug with scarred hands. "I'm Ethan," he said finally. "Evelyn." "So, Evelyn," he took a sip of coffee, "you always run through traffic in ball gowns." A laugh escaped her, bitter, surprised. "First time. What were you running from?" She looked at him, then really looked. There was no judgment in those storm-colored eyes. No recognition either. He didn't know who she was. In this moment, she was just a woman who'd nearly been hit by a car. "My life," she said. He nodded like that made perfect sense. They sat in silence while she sipped terrible coffee and felt her heart rate slowly return to normal. When she finally called her driver, Ethan walked her to the door. "Hey," he said as the town car pulled up. "Whatever you were running from, sometimes the only way out is through." She thought about those words for 2 months. 2 months earlier. The Sterling building pierced the Boston skyline like a glass needle, 40 floors of ambition and old money. Evelyn stood in her father's office, watching the city sprawl beneath clouds heavy with approaching storm. "The engagement will be announced in 2 months, Richard Sterling said behind her. His voice carried the same tone he used for hostile takeovers. "The merger papers are already drawn. Rothschild Industries and Sterling Holdings, it's what your mother would have wanted." Evelyn's fingers tightened on her coffee mug. "Mom's been dead for 16 years. Don't use her as leverage." She understood duty. Her father moved to stand beside her, his reflection ghost-like in the window. "The Sterling name means something, Evelyn. It's not just wealth, it's legacy, responsibility. It's a prison. It's reality." Richard's jaw tightened, the only sign of emotion he'd allow. "Marcus is a good match. Harvard MBA, excellent portfolio, the right connections. You could do worse. I could do better. I could choose. Choice is a luxury we don't have." He returned to his desk, every movement calculated. "You have 2 months to get used to the idea. The announcement party is October 15th. And if I refuse—" Richard looked up then, and for a moment she saw something flicker in his eyes, fear, pain. It vanished before she could be sure. "Then you're no longer my daughter, no trust fund, no position in the company, no home. I won't have a Sterling destroying everything 3 generations built." The words hung between them like a blade. 2 months, he repeated. Evelyn set down her mug with deliberate care. I need air. She made it to the elevator before her hands started shaking. 40 floors down, each ding marking another level of descent into a life she'd never chosen. The lobby marble echoed her heels like a countdown. Outside Boston, autumn bit with early cold. She walked without direction, her mind spinning scenarios. Run away with what money? Everything she had came with Sterling, strings attached. Fight. How could she battle someone who taught her everything about war? Her phone buzzed. Marcus, dinner tonight. We should discuss arrangements. Arrangements, like she was a merger to be negotiated. She deleted the message and kept walking. The coffee shop on Newbury Street wasn't Evelyn's usual spot. Too bohemian, too many students with laptops writing the next great American novel, which was exactly why she'd chosen it to meet Jenna, her only friend from college, who hadn't married into their social circle. You look like hell, Jenna said, sliding into the opposite seat. Charming as always. I'm serious. Jenna leaned forward, her therapist instincts kicking in. When's the last time you slept? Tuesday, maybe? It's Friday. Evelyn shrugged, staring at her untouched latte. The barista had made a heart in the foam. It seemed mockingly optimistic. Talk to me, Jenna said. So Evelyn did. The ultimatum, Marcus the golden cage getting smaller by the day. Jenna listened without interrupting, which was why Evelyn loved her. You need leverage, Jenna said finally. Against my father, he owns half of Boston. Not against him, against the situation. Jenna pulled out her phone, scrolling through something. What if you were already involved with someone inappropriate enough that the Rothschilds would back out? A fake boyfriend. Evelyn laughed, but it was hollow. This isn't a rom-com, Jen. No, it's your life. And right now you need a plot twist. She turned her phone around. Remember my friend Mike from group therapy? He runs this service. Evelyn looked at the screen. EliteArrangements.com. It's not what you think. No sex, nothing sketchy. Just people who need plus ones for events, someone to play a role. Mike vets everyone personally. Background checks, NDAs, the works. This is insane. Is it more insane than marrying Marcus Rothschild? Evelyn stared at the website. Professional, discreet, confidential. Even if I wanted to, my father would see through it in seconds. Not if you found the right person. Someone completely outside your world. Someone real enough to be believable. And where would I find this perfect stranger? Jenna smiled. Mike owes me a favor. Let me make a call. 3 days later, Evelyn sat in a Southie bar that had never seen a Sterling in its 100-year history. The floors were sticky, the air thick with cigarette smoke despite the city ban, and the bartender looked like he'd killed someone with his bare hands. She was about to leave when he walked in. She recognized him instantly. The rain, the jacket, those storm-colored eyes. He stopped dead when he saw her surprise flickering across his features. You, he said. You, she echoed. Ethan Cross looked different in daylight. The leather jacket was the same, but underneath wore a Henley that had seen better days. Paint stains on his jeans work boots that were actually meant for work. He looked tired, wary, and absolutely nothing like the men in her world. Perfect. Mike didn't mention. He trailed off, then slid into the opposite booth. You're the client. You're the arrangement. I don't usually do this. He signaled the bartender, who brought over 2 beers without being asked. Mike called in a favor, said someone needed help, someone in real trouble. And you just agreed. I need the money. He said it without shame, matter of fact. My dad's sick. The garage isn't making enough to cover medical bills and rent. Mike said $50,000 for 2 months' work. Evelyn studied him. No pretense, no games. Just brutal honesty. Do you know who I am? Should I? She pulled up a news article on her phone, slid it across. He read it, eyebrows rising slightly. Sterling Holdings, he said. You're that Sterling. Does that change anything? He slid the phone back. Makes more sense why you were running in that dress. I need someone to be my boyfriend. Publicly. Convince my father and my fiancé. Fiancé. Arranged engagement. I need someone to break it up, make it impossible. She met his eyes. I need someone they'd never accept but can't dismiss. Someone real. Ethan took a long pull of beer. And you think I'm that someone? You're everything they're not, everything they fear. a poor mechanic from Southie, an honest man who works with his hands. Something shifted in his expression. You don't know me. I know you saved me from getting hit by a car and didn't ask for anything in return. I know you gave me your jacket and bought me coffee and didn't try to take advantage. She leaned forward. I know you're here because someone you love needs help, not because you want to play games with rich people. He was quiet for a long moment. Outside, a siren whirled past. 2 months, he asked. 8 weeks, maybe less if we're convincing. And we'd have to, hold hands, kiss. Whatever sells it. I'm not an actor. I don't need an actor. I need someone who can pretend to care about me long enough to get my freedom. The words hung between them, more honest than she'd intended. Ethan finished his beer. I have conditions. Name them. No lying to me. You tell me everything I need to know to keep us both safe. No surprise tests or manipulations. Agreed. I meet you wherever you need, but I don't pretend to be something I'm not. I won't wear suits or pretend I went to Harvard. I wouldn't want you to. And when it's over, we walk away clean. No complications. Evelyn extended her hand across the sticky table. Deal. His hand was calloused, warm, real in a way that made her realize how long it had been since anyone had touched her without calculation. When do we start? He asked. There's a family dinner Thursday. Black tie. I don't own a tux. We'll figure it out. He stood to leave, then paused. That night when you were running, what made you come back? I remembered what you said about the only way out being through. And you think this is through? I think this is the first honest thing I've done in years. He nodded, then walked out into the afternoon sun. Evelyn sat there wondering if she just made the best or worst decision of her life. You're holding your fork wrong. Ethan looked down at his hand, then up at Evelyn with exasperation. It's a fork. It has one job. They were in her penthouse apartment, the dining table set with more silverware than any meal could possibly require. She'd been trying to teach him table manners for 2 hours. Continental style, she said, demonstrating. Fork stays in the left hand. This is ridiculous. This is necessary. My father will be watching everything. Ethan deliberately picked up the fork with his right hand and stabbed a piece of chicken. Maybe that's the point. You want someone inappropriate, right? Inappropriate, not feral. Feral, he laughed, and she realized it was the first time she'd heard him genuinely laugh. It transformed his face, made him look younger. Princess, I know which fork to use, I just don't care. Don't call me princess. Would you prefer sweetheart, honey babe? Evelyn is fine. Evelyn! He said her name like he was tasting it. Too formal. If we're dating, I need something else. Like what? He studied her. Ev. No one calls me that. Exactly. She wanted to protest, but something about the way he said it, casual, intimate, without being inappropriate, made her stop. Fine, but you need a story, how we met, how long we've been together. The truth mostly. You nearly got hit by a car, I helped. We got coffee. He shrugged. Leave out the part where you disappeared for 2 months. And then I couldn't stop thinking about you. Looked for you. Found you at that coffee shop on Newbury. How did you know I'd be there? I didn't, just got lucky. She looked at him sharply. There was something in his voice, but his expression gave nothing away. We've been dating for 6 weeks, she said, keeping it quiet because you knew your father wouldn't approve. Right. But now you can't hide it anymore because I love you. The words landed between them like a grenade. Ethan set down his fork with perfect continental style, she noticed. You're going to have to sell that better, he said quietly. I know. How long since you've actually been in love? The question caught her off guard. I don't know, college maybe. What was his name? David, he was studying architecture. What happened? My father happened. David got a job offer in Prague, a very generous job offer that required him to leave immediately. And you didn't fight for him. I was 21. I didn't know how to fight yet. Ethan leaned back in his chair. So you've been alone for 5 years. I've dated. Men your father chose. She didn't answer, which was answer enough. Okay, he said. So when you look at me, think about David. Think about what you wanted to say to him but didn't. That's cruel. That's acting. He stood, came around the table. Try it. Evelyn stood to faced him. This close, she could smell that same scent from his jacket, motor oil and leather, and something else. I love you, she said. Liar. I love you. You don't even know me. I love... He cupped her face with those calloused hands, and her words died. Don't think about the words. Think about warning. Why would you love someone like me? Because you're free, she whispered. Why else? Because you don't want anything from me. Keep going. Because when you look at me, you see Evelyn, not Sterling. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. Now say it. I love you. This time it sounded almost real. Sarah Rothschild had been watching them for 20 minutes. Evelyn noticed her in the reflection of the restaurant window, Marcus's younger sister, pretending to read a book 3 tables away. She'd always been the smarter of the Rothschild siblings, the one who saw too much and said too little. We have company, Evelyn murmured. Ethan didn't turn around. The brunette with the camera, you noticed. Hard to miss. She's not exactly subtle. That's Sarah, my fiancé's sister. Ex-fiancé, Ethan corrected. He reached across the table, took her hand. She's taking pictures. Let her. His thumb traced circles on her wrist. It was such a simple gesture, but it sent unexpected heat up her arm. Tell me about her, he said loud enough to seem like normal conversation. Sarah's an artist, photography. She's good, but her family thinks it's a hobby. What does she think? I don't know. We've never really talked. Evelyn realized how that sounded. I've known her for 3 years, and we've never had a real conversation. Your world sounds lonely. It is. He squeezed her hand. Well, now you have me. And the way he said it so matter-of-fact made her throat tight. She had to remind herself this was all pretend. Sarah chose that moment to approach. She moved like a count, all grace and observation. Evelyn, she said, what a surprise. Sarah. Evelyn didn't pull her hand from Ethan's. This is Ethan Cross. Sarah's eyes cataloged everything: Ethan's clothes, his hands, the way he didn't stand when introduced. Cross, I don't know any crosses. You wouldn't, Ethan said easily. I'm from Southie. How interesting. Sarah's smile was sharp. And how did you two meet? She tried to get herself killed, Ethan said. I objected. He saved me from getting hit by a car, Evelyn clarified. A knight in shining armor. How romantic. Sarah pulled out her phone, not bothering to be subtle. Mind if I take a photo for the family album? Go ahead, Ethan said. Sarah raised her phone. At the last second, Ethan turned to Evelyn, whispered something in her ear that made her genuinely laugh. Sarah captured that moment, Evelyn's real smile, Ethan's protective lean, the intimacy that looked nothing like performance. Perfect, Sarah said. Marcus will be so interested to see this. After she left, Evelyn asked, what did you whisper? That she has paint in her hair. Green. Evelyn looked. He was right, a streak of green near Sarah's ear, probably from her studio. You're observant, she said. I fix cars. You have to see what's wrong before you can repair it. And you think I'm broken. He looked at her for a long moment. I think you're like a classic car someone's kept in a garage too long. All that power, nowhere to go. What kind of car? A 67 Mustang, beautiful, powerful, meant to be driven fast on open roads. You rehearsed that line? Maybe, he grinned. Did it work? Despite herself, she smiled back. Maybe. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. We need to talk. Sarah showed me something interesting. The game's starting, she said. Good, Ethan replied. I was getting bored with practice. As they left the restaurant, Evelyn didn't notice Sarah watching from across the street, camera still raised. Didn't see her zoom in on the way Ethan's hand rested on Evelyn's lower back, guiding her through the door. Didn't know that Sarah had already developed the film from 2 months ago, a woman in a ball gown running through the rain, saved by a stranger who looked at her like she was worth saving. Thursday arrived too quickly. Ethan stood outside the Sterling mansion in Beacon Hill, tugging at his collar. The tux didn't fit quite right, rented last minute, a little tight in the shoulders. He could see his reflection in the polished door and barely recognized himself. A text from Evelyn. Remember, you belong here. He almost laughed. He'd never belonged anywhere that required someone to open the door for you. James, the Sterling butler, answered before he could knock. The man was 60-something with eyes that missed nothing. Mr. Cross, he said, Miss Sterling is expecting you. The foyer was all marble and crystal paintings that belonged in museums, flowers that cost more than his rent. Ethan forced himself not to gawk. Evelyn descended the staircase and his brain short-circuited. She wore black, simple, elegant, devastating. Her hair was up, exposing her neck, and diamonds caught the light at her throat. But it was her eyes that stopped him. Nervous, vulnerable, real. You look, he trailed off. Ridiculous. Perfect. She reached the bottom step, wobbled slightly on her heels. He caught her elbow. I'm scared, she whispered. Me too. You don't look scared. I'm terrified. He straightened his bow tie. Your father's going to eat me alive. Probably. Thanks for the pep talk. She smiled and some of the tension eased. Ready? No. Good, that makes two of us. The dining room was intimidating by design. 20-foot ceilings, a table that could seat 30 portraits of dead Sterlings, judging from the walls. Richard Sterling stood by the fireplace, Marcus beside him. Both men turned as they entered. Father, Evelyn said, this is Ethan Cross. Richard Sterling was shorter than Ethan expected, but his presence filled the room. His handshake was a test, firm, held a beat too long, those gray eyes dissecting. Mr. Cross, he said, Evelyn's kept you quite secret. She's protective, Ethan said. Of you or herself? Both. Marcus stepped forward. Hollywood handsome, weak chin, the kind of manicured hands that had never held a tool. Marcus Rothschild, he said. His handshake was aggressive, trying to establish dominance. Ethan didn't play. Just smiled, shook, let go. I understand you're a mechanic, Marcus said. I fix things, Ethan agreed. How working class. How honest. Evelyn's fingers found his squeezed warning. Dinner was interrogation disguised as conversation. Richard asked about his education, high school, some community college, his family, father dying, mother gone, his prospects, the garage, nothing more. Every answer seemed to disappoint and satisfy simultaneously. And what exactly are your intentions toward my daughter? Richard asked over dessert. I don't have intentions, Ethan said. I have feelings. Feelings don't pay bills, Mr. Cross. No, but they're worth more than money. Spoken like someone who's never had any. Spoken like someone who's never been without it. The room went silent. Marcus smirked. Richard's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Respect calculation. Evelyn, Richard said, a word, privately. She started to protest, but Ethan squeezed her hand. It's okay. Father and daughter left. Marcus leaned back, predator, relaxed. You know this won't work, he said. What won't? This performance. I know what she's doing. Which is using you to break our engagement. Marcus swirled his wine. It's clever, I'll admit, but ultimately pointless. Why's that? Because Richard Sterling doesn't care about her feelings. He cares about legacy, and you're not legacy. You're a temporary rebellion. Maybe. Definitely. Marcus stood. She's going to get bored, you know, once the thrill wears off, once Daddy stops being shocked. She'll go back to her world, and you'll go back to yours. You sound worried. I sound realistic. He moved toward the door, paused. Enjoy it while it lasts, Mr. Cross. These people, they always return to their own kind. Alone, Ethan studied the portraits. All those Sterling faces, proud and cold. Evelyn had their bones, but not their eyes. Hers still had warmth. She returned, looking shaken. What did he say? Ethan asked. That I'm being childish. That you're using me. That I'll regret this. Are you being childish? Probably. She took his hand. But I don't care anymore. Your father thinks you're after money. I told him that you refused payment 3 times before accepting. That was a lie. He'd taken the money immediately, desperately. But the way she said it, fierce and protective, made him want it to be true. We should go, she said, before round 2. As they left, James appeared with Ethan's coat. Mr. Cross, he said quietly. A word of advice. Ethan waited. Miss Evelyn hasn't smiled genuinely in 5 years. Tonight she smiled 3 times. The butler's expression softened. Don't hurt her. I won't. Intentionally, no, but this game you're playing, someone always gets hurt. In the car, Evelyn was quiet. Ethan watched the city lights paint patterns on her face. You did well, she said finally. I felt like I was drowning. You stood up to him. No one does that. Someone should. She turned to him. Why did you really take this job? I told you, the money. The truth. He was quiet for a long moment. That night in the rain, you looked like someone who'd given up. I know that look. I've worn it. And I thought maybe if I helped you, it would balance something out. Karma or whatever. What needs balancing? I couldn't save my mom. Cancer. I was 16, thought I could fix everything if I just worked hard enough. He stared out the window. Some things can't be fixed. Ethan. But maybe some things can. Maybe you can be. She reached over, took his hand. This time there was no one watching. No performance. Just two people in the dark holding on. The garage sat on the wrong side of Boston, squeezed between a Vietnamese restaurant and a pawn shop. At 2 in the morning, the streets were empty, except for the occasional drunk stumbling home and cats fighting over territory. Evelyn parked her Mercedes outside, triple-checking the locks. She'd never been to this part of town at night. Hell, she'd rarely been here during the day. The garage door was half open, spilling yellow light onto oil-stained concrete. She could hear music, classic rock, something about a wayward son. She ducked under the door. Ethan was under a car, a 1967 Mustang as blue as midnight. Only his legs visible, worn jeans and work boots. The music was loud enough that he didn't hear her approach. She cleared her throat. Nothing. Louder. Still nothing. Finally, she nudged his boot with her designer heel. He rolled out fast wrench, raised like a weapon, then froze. Jesus, Ev, you trying to give me a heart attack? Sorry, she stopped. He was shirtless, chest streaked with grease, a fresh cut on his shoulder. You're bleeding. He glanced down. It's nothing. Caught it on a bolt. It needs cleaning. It's fine. It's not. She found the first aid kit on the workbench, ancient and understocked, but it had peroxide and bandages. When she turned back, he was watching her with an unreadable expression. Sit, she ordered. You always this bossy. You always this stubborn. He sat on a crate, and she stepped between his knees to reach his shoulder. This close, she could feel the heat from his skin, see the tattoo over his heart, a date in Roman numerals. Your mom? She asked, dabbing peroxide on the cut. Yeah. His voice was rough. The day she died. Her hands stilled. I'm sorry. Long time ago. Doesn't make it hurt less. No, he agreed, it doesn't. She finished cleaning the wound, applied a bandage with more care than necessary. Her fingers lingered on his skin. Why are you here, Ev? I couldn't sleep. So you drove to Southie at 2 a.m. I needed to see something real. She stepped back, suddenly aware of their proximity. Everything in my world is performance. Calculated. Even grief gets packaged properly. He stood, grabbed a clean shirt from a hook. Want to help? With what? The car. She needs a tune-up. I don't know anything about cars. I'll teach you. For the next 2 hours, he taught her about engines. How to check oil change, spark plugs, read the signs of a machine that needed care. Her designer clothes got ruined. Her manicure was destroyed. She'd never been happier. This was my mom's car, he said, suddenly running his hand along the Mustang's curve. She bought it the year I was born. Said every kid should learn to drive in something with soul. She taught you, Borshaman, everything important. How to fix things, how to fight fair, how to know when someone's lying. He smiled, but it was sad. How to let go when you can't hold on anymore. Is that why you kept it? I keep it because when I sit in that driver's seat, I can still smell her perfume. 15 years later, and sometimes I swear she's right there beside me. Evelyn understood. There were days she stood in her mother's old study searching for the ghost of Chanel No. 5. Play me her favorite song, she said. He wiped his hands on a rag, went to the ancient radio. After some static, Fleetwood Mac filled the garage. Rhiannon. They sat on the hood of the Mustang, backs against the windshield, watching the ceiling fans turn lazy circles. My mother loved Chopin, Evelyn said. Nocturne in E-flat major. She'd play it when father worked late, which was always. I'd sneak downstairs and listen from the stairs. What happened to her? Cancer, but really I think she died of loneliness. Evelyn closed her eyes. My father loved her, but he loved the company more. She got smaller and quieter until one day she just wasn't. Is that why you're fighting so hard to avoid her fate? Maybe. Or maybe I'm just tired of being a Sterling instead of being Evelyn. He turned his head to look at her visitor. In the garage light, his eyes were more gray than blue. You know what I like about you, he said. My money, your anger, she blinked. My what? You're so angry under all that polish, furious, it's beautiful. Anger isn't beautiful. It is when it's honest. You've been smiling while drowning for so long, the anger's the first real thing I've seen. Besides running into traffic, that wasn't real. That was desperation. The anger, that's power. She sat up, turned to face him. Is that why you agreed to this? To help me be angry? I agreed because I need the money, Grum. He sat up too close enough that she could see the gold flecks in his eyes. But I'm staying because I want to see what happens when Evelyn Sterling stops being perfect. What if I disappoint you? What if you don't? The air between them crackled. She could kiss him. It would be so easy to lean forward close to the gap, make this real in a different way. Her phone shattered the moment. Marcus. Again. We need to meet, the text read. Tomorrow alone. She showed Ethan. It's a power play, he said. He wants to separate us, make you vulnerable. So what do? You go, but you don't go alone. He said, I'll be there, just not with you, background support. Like a guardian angel. Like a mechanic who knows how to throw a punch. She laughed, but he didn't. I'm serious, Ev. Men like Marcus, they're dangerous when cornered. And we're cornering him. You barely know him. I know enough. The way he looked at you at dinner, like property he's been denied. That's not love, that's ownership. And what's this? She gestured between them. A really complicated friendship. Is that what we're calling it? Unless you have a better word. She didn't. Or maybe she did, but wasn't ready to say it. Sarah Rothschild developed her photos the old-fashioned way in a dark room her family didn't know existed. The red light turned everything bloody appropriate for what she was uncovering. She'd been following Evelyn and Ethan for a week. Not on Marcus's orders, he was too arrogant to think he needed help. This was personal curiosity. The first photo, Evelyn laughing at the restaurant, genuine joy cracking her porcelain mask. The second, Ethan's hand on her back, protective, but not possessive. The third, the two of them at the garage at 2 a.m. sitting on a car hood like teenagers. But it was the fourth photo that made her pause. One she'd taken months ago on a whim. A woman in a ball gown running through rain, a stranger catching her as she fell. The same stranger who was now playing boyfriend. Sarah hung the photos to dry, studying them. This wasn't a new relationship. This was something else. But what her phone buzzed. Lily Chen, Evelyn's assistant, Miss Rothschild, you left your scarf at the Sterling offices. Sarah had never owned a scarf in her life. She typed back, thank you. I'll retrieve it tomorrow. I'll be here late, working on the Henderson acquisition files. How late? Until it's done. Probably midnight. Sarah stared at the message. Lily was pretty in that understated way, all efficiency and hidden depths. They'd spoken maybe 5 times in 3 years, always about business. I'll bring coffee, Sarah typed before she could stop herself. That would be kind. Kind. Sarah wondered what kindness looked like in Lily Chen's world. At 11:30, Sarah arrived at the Sterling building with 2 coffees and her camera. The security guard didn't question a Rothschild entering after hours. Lily was alone on the 40th floor, surrounded by papers, hair falling from its usually perfect bun. You didn't have a scarf, Lily said without looking up. You knew that? Yes. Why did you lie? Lily finally looked up. Behind her glasses, her eyes were knowing. Because you've been photographing everyone except the person you really want to capture. Sarah set down the coffee, lifted her camera. May I? Why? Because you're the only honest thing in this building at midnight. Lily considered, then nodded. Sarah took 3 photos. Lily working focused, Lily sipping coffee grateful, Lily looking directly at the camera unguarded. Your brother doesn't deserve Evelyn, Lily said suddenly. No, he doesn't. But neither does Ethan Cross. Sarah lowered her camera. You know, I handle Evelyn's finances. A $50,000 withdrawal doesn't go unnoticed. Are you going to tell anyone? Are you, They looked at each other across the desk. I should, Sarah said. Marcus is my brother. But you won't. How do you know? Lily came around the desk. She was smaller than Sarah expected, but her presence filled space. Because you're an artist trapped in a Rothschild body. Because you know what it's like to perform a role that's killing you slowly. Because you see everything through that lens but can't photograph your own pain. You don't know me. I've been watching you for 3 years. Why? The same reason you're here at midnight with coffee. Lily took the camera from Sarah's hand, set it aside. We're all performing, aren't we? The only difference is some of us know it. And Evelyn is trying to stop. That's more than most of us dare. Sarah wanted to step back, maintain distance, keep safe. Instead, she stepped forward. I have photos, she said, of them. Evidence it's all fake. I know. I could end it tomorrow. You could. Why shouldn't I? Lily reached up, tucked a strand of hair behind Sarah's ear. The touch was electric. Because you know what it's like to want something real so badly you'd pay someone to pretend. Sarah caught Lily's hand. I'm not paying you. No, this is free. They stood there, hands clasped, truth hanging between them. If Marcus finds out, Sarah started, he won't. He only sees what serves him. And my father doesn't care as long as the merger happens. The merger won't happen. Not if Evelyn has her way. Good. Lily squeezed her hand. Your brother's been skimming from the acquisition funds. I have proof. Sarah pulled back. What? He owes people. Bad people. The marriage was his way out access to Sterling money to pay his debts. How long have you known? 6 months. And you haven't told Evelyn? She has enough weight to carry, but if Marcus pushes too hard. Lily returned to her desk, pulled out a file. Insurance. Sarah took the file, scanned it. Her brother wasn't just in debt, he was drowning. He's desperate, she said. Desperate men do desperate things. You think he's dangerous? I think Evelyn needs all the allies she can get. Sarah made a decision. She pulled out her phone, deleted the photos of Evelyn and Ethan, all except one them on the car hood, looking at stars. Why keep that one? Lily asked. Because real or fake that moment was true. Marcus chose the Ritz-Carlton bar for their meeting, public enough to prevent scenes, private enough for threats. Evelyn arrived 10 minutes late, a small rebellion. Marcus was at a corner table, whiskey already half gone. You wanted to talk, she said, not sitting. Sit, please. She sat, ordered sparkling water. Across the bar, she spotted Ethan at the bar, baseball cap, low, pretending to watch the game. I know what you're doing, Marcus said. Having a drink I didn't want. The mechanic. It's theatrical even for you. His name is Ethan. His name is irrelevant. He's a prop in your tantrum. Evelyn studied Marcus. 3 years of dinners and galas, and she'd never really looked at him. Handsome in that prep school way, but his eyes were hollow. Hungry. Why do you want to marry me, Marcus? Our families. No, you. Why do you want this? He finished his whiskey, signaled for another. You wouldn't understand. Try me. Have you ever owed someone something you couldn't pay? His laugh was bitter. Of course not. You're a Sterling. You've never owed anyone anything. Marcus. I made mistakes, investments that went bad, borrowed from the wrong people to cover them. He leaned forward. Your father's merger isn't just business. It's my lifeline. So you'd marry someone who doesn't love you for money. Wouldn't you marry someone you don't love for freedom? The question hung between them. That's different, she said. Is it? We're both trapped, Evelyn. The only difference is my cage has violent consequences. How much do you owe? 8 million. She nearly choked on her water. 8? How? Started with one bad investment, doubled down to fix it, then tripled. He rubbed his face. I kept thinking the next bet would save me. And these people you owe, not patient. She saw it then, the exhaustion beneath his arrogance. He wasn't her enemy. He was another person drowning. Marcus, we could find another way. There is no other way. You think I haven't looked. Your father's offer is the only thing keeping them from. He stopped. From what? Breaking things, starting with my fingers. At the bar, Ethan shifted alert. I'm not in love with you, Marcus continued, but I'm not a monster. I'd be a good husband, faithful, respectful. We could have separate lives after an heir or two. An heir or two, like we're breeding horses. Like we're practical. What about love? Love is luxury neither of us can afford. You're wrong. Then why are you paying someone to pretend? Evelyn stood. I'm not paying him to pretend. I'm paying him to help me stop pretending. She walked away, but Marcus called after her. He's not who you think he is. She turned. What does that mean? I had him investigated. Did you know his mother didn't die of cancer? She killed herself. Pills. He found her. The bar tilted. Evelyn gripped the back of a chair. Did you know he was engaged, once girl named Rebecca? She left him for someone with prospects. Did you know he's been watching you for years, not months, years? You're lying. Marcus stood, pulled out a file. I'm many things, Evelyn, but not a liar. She took the file with numb fingers. Photos, documents, a suicide report, engagement announcement from 4 years ago, and pictures Ethan at a coffee shop on Newberry, the one where they'd accidentally met, dated 2 years ago, 3 years ago. He's playing you, Marcus said almost gently. Whatever his reasons, this isn't chance, it's calculation. Evelyn walked out, file clutched to her chest. Ethan followed, caught her in the parking garage. Ev, what did he? She slapped him. Hard. His head snapped to the chibam. Yo, she said, you've been watching me for years. He didn't deny it. That was worse than any excuse. Your mother killed herself. Yeah. You were engaged. Yes. You knew who I was before the rain. You knew. Yes. You hit him again, this time with fists against his chest. He didn't stop her, just stood there taking it until she exhausted herself. Why? She whispered. The first time was an accident. 3 years ago. You were at that coffee shop crying, trying to hide it but crying. I wanted to say something, but what would a guy like me say to someone like you? So you what, stalked me? No, maybe, I don't know. He ran his hands through his hair. I went back sometimes, hoping to see you, hoping you were happier. You never were. That's not an answer. You want the truth? The whole truth? Yes. I fell in love with you 3 years ago, watched you fade a little more each time, wanted to save you but didn't know how. Then that night in the rain, you ran into traffic and I finally had an excuse to touch you, to help. And the money was real, is real. My dad is dying. Conveniently. Nothing convenient about cancer. She studied his face. Were you ever going to tell me after, when it was over, when you were free? And then what? Then nothing. You'd go your way, I'd go mine. But at least you'd be happy. How noble. How pathetic. They stood in the fluorescent garage light, truth ugly between them. I can't trust you, she said. I know. This changes everything. I know. I should fire you. You should. But she didn't. Instead, she got in her car and drove away, leaving him standing there. In her rearview mirror, she saw him sink to his knees, head in his hands. At home, she sat in her mother's study and played Chopin until her fingers cramped. Then she opened Marcus's file again, looked at the photos of Ethan watching her. In every one, he looked at the way she felt. Lost. The storage unit had belonged to her mother. Evelyn hadn't known it existed until James mentioned it casually over breakfast. Your mother kept things there, he'd said, then returned to polishing silver like he hadn't just detonated a bomb. Now she stood in the dusty space surrounded by boxes. Most were closed books, music. But one box was different. Locked, with her name on it and a date, her 26th birthday. Inside, letters, photos, and a USB drive labeled "For My Daughter." Evelyn sat in her car laptop, open, afraid to click play. Her mother appeared on screen, thinner than Evelyn remembered, but smiling. The timestamp showed 3 months before she died. My darling Evelyn, Catherine Sterling said, if you're watching this, you're 26 and probably engaged to someone profitable. Evelyn laughed despite tears. I'm recording this because there are things I need you to know. Things I couldn't say while living in your father's house. Her mother paused, gathered courage. I loved someone before your father. Thomas. He was everything Richard wasn't: warm, spontaneous, poor. We were going to run away together. Then I got pregnant. Evelyn's world tilted. Not with you, darling. I lost that baby, but the miscarriage required surgery, and my parents found out. They threatened Thomas, his scholarship, his future, everything. So I let him go and married Richard. On screen, Catherine twisted her wedding ring. Your father is a good man in his way, but he loves like he does business with contracts and conditions. I spent 20 years dying by inches, and I don't want that for you. Mom, Evelyn whispered to the screen, I'm leaving you this on your 26th birthday because that's when I understood I'd never escape. Don't make my mistake. Don't choose duty over love. Don't let fear pick your future. Her mother leaned forward, urgent. There's something else. Thomas had a son, adopted him after his wife died. The boy would be about 30 now. James knows how to find them if you need to understand that love persists despite everything. The video ended. Evelyn sat in the dark car shaking. Then she called James. You knew, she said. I know many things, Miss Evelyn. Thomas, where is he? He runs a garage in Southie, has for 15 years. The world crystallized. Cross, Thomas Cross. Yes. Ethan's father. Adoptive father, but yes. Did she know? She kept track, from a distance, the way one does with old wounds. Does Ethan know? About your mother, no. Thomas never spoke of her. Evelyn started the car. I'm going there. Miss Evelyn. I need to see him, Thomas. The garage was closed when she arrived, but light spilled from the apartment above. She climbed rusty stairs, knocked. Thomas Cross answered. He was older, obviously, but she could see why her mother had loved him. Kind eyes, gentle hands, the sort of face that had known pain, but chosen hope. Miss Sterling, he said, unsurprised. You know who I am. You look like her, especially around the eyes. May I come in? The apartment was small but warm. Photos covered every surface, Ethan at various ages, always working on cars. He doesn't know, Thomas said, offering tea. About my mother. About any of it. Thought it would hurt him knowing he was fixing cars below the woman I loved. Loved. Past tense. Some things don't need present tense to be true. They sat at a kitchen table scarred by years. Tell me about her, Evelyn said. She was light. Not in that soft way people mean, but like lightning. Brilliant and dangerous and gone too fast. Why didn't you fight for her? I was 22 and poor. Her father owned judges. What fight was there? She regretted it, letting you go. I know. She sent a letter when Ethan's mother died, offering help. I was too proud to take it. And Ethan fell in love with you 3 years ago, came home talking about a girl crying in a coffee shop, described you perfectly. I knew who you were, but how could I tell him? So you let him pine. I let him choose. Then that night in the rain happened, and choice became chance. Or fate. I don't believe in fate, just in people finding their way to what they need. What did my mother need? Freedom, but she defined it too narrow. Thought it meant leaving everything instead of changing it. And what does Ethan need? Thomas smiled. You'd have to ask him. But I think he needs someone to see him as more than a mechanic. And you need someone to see you as more than a Sterling. It's all lies, though. The arrangement. The arrangement maybe, but watch him when he looks at you. That's not performance. How do you know? Because it's the same way I looked at Catherine. Evelyn stood to leave, then turned. She kept a photo of you in her jewelry box. I found it after. Thomas's eyes filled. Did she? You were working on a car, smiling. The Mustang. She took that picture the day before everything ended. The same car Ethan has now. The same, fixed it up for him when he turned 16. Told him it was just an old car I'd bought. But really it was the last piece of her I had. Does it still smell like her perfume? Thomas looked surprised. He told you that it was his mother's perfume, but yes, sometimes. Chanel number 5. How did you buy? He stopped. Catherine wore that. They looked at each other, understanding dawning. My God, Thomas said. All this time and we're all just walking in circles, aren't we? Maybe circles are just spirals from the wrong angle. She left him there, surrounded by photos. In her car, she called Ethan. We need to talk, she said. Ev, I'm sorry. No, no more apologies, no more lies tomorrow. The garage. Midnight. Why midnight? Because that's when we stop pretending. All of us. Sarah's darkroom was her sanctuary, but tonight it felt like a confessional. Lily stood beside her, watching photos develop in chemical baths. This is everyone, Sarah said. Every player in this tragedy. The photos hung like evidence, Evelyn running in rain, Ethan watching her through coffee shop windows, Marcus meeting with dangerous men. Richard Sterling standing alone in his office at midnight. Thomas Cross visiting a grave, Catherine Sterling's. You've been documenting everything, Lily said. It's what I do. Watch, record, never participate. Until now, Sarah turned. In the red light, Lily looked like a different person, or maybe like herself for the first time. I can't let Marcus destroy her, Sarah said. Even though she's taking everything from him, she's not taking, she's refusing to give. Same result. No, one's attack, one's defense. Lily pulled out her phone. I've drafted an email, everything about Marcus's debts attached with proof. One click, and Richard Sterling knows everything. That would destroy Marcus, or save him. Sometimes rock bottom is the only foundation worth building on. Sarah thought of her brother as he'd been before the debts. Still arrogant, but not desperate. Still cold, but not cruel. Do it, she said. Lily hit send. They stood in the red light waiting. 5 minutes. 10. Then Lily's phone exploded with calls. Richard Sterling. Don't answer, Sarah said. Let him process. What about Marcus? I'll handle Marcus. She called her brother. He answered on the first ring drunk. Baby sister, he slurred, calling to gloat. I'm calling to tell you to run. Silence. Then, what? Richard knows about the debts. Lily sent him everything. You have maybe an hour before he calls the police. You're lying. I'm trying to save you, you idiot. Get to Logan. Use the emergency account Dad doesn't know about. Go to Switzerland. I can't just... You can, you have to. What about the engagement? There is no engagement. There never was. We're all just playing parts in a show no one wants to watch. Sarah, go Marcus, disappear, reinvent, find whatever you were before the money ate you. Why would you help me? Because you're my brother. Because love isn't always conditional, even when it should be. She hung up. An hour later, Lily confirmed Marcus's flight had departed. You gave up everything for him, Lily said. No, I gave him up to save everything. They kissed then in the red light, surrounded by evidence of everyone's deceptions. It tasted like truth. Meanwhile, across town, Richard Sterling sat in his office reading Lily's email. James entered with scotch. You knew, Richard said, about Mr. Rothschild's debts, yes. Well, and why didn't you tell me? Because you needed to discover what matters more, the merger or your daughter. Richard looked at the photos Lily had included. One showed Evelyn truly laughing with Ethan. She looks happy, he said. She looks alive, James corrected. I've been a fool. You've been a father. They're often the same thing. What do I do? You let her go or you lose her forever? Richard picked up his phone, called Evelyn, voicemail. Sweetheart, he said the word rusty from disuse. The engagement is off. Marcus is gone. You're free, but please come home. We need to talk about your mother. He hung up, then looked at James. Find Thomas Cross, he said. It's time to settle old debts. The garage at midnight felt different, sacred somehow, like a church for broken things waiting to be whole. Evelyn arrived first, using the key Ethan had given her weeks ago. She ran her fingers over the Mustang's hood, understanding now why it mattered so much. This car had been touched by both their mothers. It held their ghosts. Ethan entered at exactly midnight, stopping when he saw her. You came, he said. We need to stop lying. All of it. Every last piece. They stood on opposite sides of the car, the blue metal between them like an ocean. I loved you before I met you, Ethan said. That's my truth. 3 years of watching you disappear into yourself. 3 years of wanting to say something, anything to make you smile real. When you ran into that street, I thought I'd lose you before I ever had you. You lied to me. Yes. Manipulated me. Yes. Used your father's illness. No, his voice turned sharp. That's real. He's dying. 2 months, maybe 3. I met him. Ethan went still. What? Tonight, I went to see Thomas. Why? Wow. Because my mother loved him. The words hung in the air like a held breath. Ethan circled the car, slowly processing. That's impossible. Is it a Sterling and a Cross separated by money and class? Sound familiar? She pulled out her phone, showed him the photo from her mother's jewelry box. Thomas Young working on the Mustang. Oh my God! Ethan breathed. He never told you. He never... Jesus. He sat on the hood, head in hands. The car. He said it was just something he'd bought, but he treated it like a shrine because it was. Evelyn sat beside him, careful space between their bodies. My mother made a video before she died. She said she loved him, but chose duty. Said she regretted it every day after. And my mom, where does she fit? After. Thomas loved her too, just different. But the Mustang, the Chanel perfume that you thought was your mother's, was yours. They sat in silence, understanding, rewriting history. We're them, Ethan said finally. We're playing out their story. No, we're writing our own. We get to choose different. Do we? You're still engaged to Marcus. Marcus is gone. Fled the country 2 hours ago. What? His debts caught up. Sarah warned him, gave him time to run. And your father knows everything. Left me a voicemail saying I'm free. Then why are we here if it's over? Because it's not over. She turned to face him. The arrangement is over. The performance is done. But this us, whatever this is, that's just beginning. Vantrin. I know you love me. Not the pretend love we practiced, but real love. The kind that watches from coffee shops and saves people from traffic and teaches them about engines at 2 a.m. And you, I love you too, not because you're my rebellion or my freedom, but because you see me. The angry, imperfect, desperate me, and you don't look away. He reached for her hand, stopped. This could destroy you. Your world they'll never accept. Then I'll build a new world. Your father is human, flawed and controlling, but human. He'll come around or he won't, but I can't live for his approval anymore. The money done is just money, but it's easy to say when you've never been without it. Then teach me. Show me how to live on love and garage wages and hope. You'd hate it. I'd hate pretending more. He kissed her then, and it was nothing like their practice kisses for show. This was desperate and honest and tasted like oil and expensive lipstick and freedom. This is insane, he said against her lips. This is the only sane thing in my insane life. They stayed there until dawn, planning a future neither could fully imagine but both desperately wanted. Richard Sterling hadn't been to Southie in 30 years. The streets looked the same, tired, stubborn, and real in a way Back Bay never was. Thomas Cross's garage was easy to find. Richard parked his Bentley between a rusted pickup and a Honda held together by prayer. Thomas was waiting, coffee in hand. He offered Richard a mug without words. She looks like Catherine, Richard said. She looks like herself. They stood in the morning light, two old men carrying older wounds. You could have fought, Richard said. Could I? A scholarship kid against Sterling money. I would have respected you for trying. No, you wouldn't. You'd have crushed me and felt righteous doing it. Richard couldn't argue. That version of himself had been ruthless. She wasn't happy, Thomas said. Catherine, you knew that, right? I knew. I thought it would change. After the wedding, after Evelyn, after the next success. It never did. She loved you in her way. She loved the idea of me, the safety I represented. Richard sipped the coffee. It was terrible and perfect. But she loved you true. Loved, past tense. Is it your boy and my daughter seem to be proving otherwise? That's different. Is it? They watched the street wake up. A bodega opening, kids heading to school life in its ordinary glory. I have a proposition, Richard said. I don't want your money. Not money, a chance. Richard pulled out papers. The Henderson acquisition. 500 cars needing restoration for a museum project. It's a $10 million contract. Why? Because you're the best mechanic in Boston. Because your son makes my daughter happy. Because maybe after 30 years we can stop punishing children for parents' mistakes. Thomas studied the papers. This would set Ethan up for life. That's the idea. He won't take charity. It's not charity. He'd earn every penny, but it's a chance, something our generation never gave them. And what do you want in return? Nothing, everything. Richard looked exhausted suddenly. I want my daughter to smile like she does with him. I want to stop being the villain in her story. You can't buy forgiveness. No, but I can stop demanding payment for love. Thomas extended his hand. Partners. Partners. They shook, and 30 years of animosity began to dissolve. There's something else, Thomas said. I'm sick, cancer, few months left. Richard's face softened. I'm sorry. Don't be. I've had a good life. But Ethan will need family after. He'll have it. You sure about that? Your world won't accept him easy. My world will adapt, or I'll find a new one. That's simple. No, but necessary. As Richard left, Thomas called out, She kept your picture too. Catherine, in her hospital room. You were holding baby Evelyn. Richard stopped but didn't turn. Did she? Love isn't either or, Richard. Sometimes it's both and. Richard sat in his Bentley for 10 minutes before driving away crying for the first time since Catherine's funeral. Sarah's first photography exhibition opened on a Thursday night in a converted warehouse in the Arts District. She'd titled it Performance, 25 photographs of people pretending to be what they weren't. Lily stood beside her as guests arrived, their hands secretly linked behind a black curtain. You're terrified, Lily observed. I'm exposed. There's a difference. No, there isn't. The photographs were devastating in their honesty. Marcus at a poker table, desperate beneath bravado. Richard Sterling, alone in his massive office, dwarfed by success. Evelyn in her ball gown running. Ethan watching through glass unseen. But the centerpiece was different. A single photo, larger than the rest, Evelyn and Ethan on the Mustang's hood looking at stars. The only image where no one was performing. It's beautiful, a voice said. Sarah turned. Evelyn stood there, Ethan beside her, their hands openly linked. You came, Sarah said. You invited us. I didn't think you would, after everything. Evelyn studied the photographs, seeing the story Sarah had captured. You were documenting the truth. I was documenting the lies. The truth was an accident. The best truths usually are. They stood before the centerpiece photo. That's the moment, Ethan said, when everything stopped being pretend. For you, maybe, Evelyn said. I was gone the minute you caught me in the rain. That's very romantic, a familiar voice said. They turned. Richard Sterling stood in the entrance, looking uncomfortable but determined. Dad, Vilstoin said, how did you quiet him? Sarah invited me. He approached slowly like one might approach a spooked animal. I thought it was time I saw something real. He stopped before the photo of himself alone in his office. This is how you see me, he asked Sarah. This is how you are at midnight when you think no one's watching. It's pathetic. It's human. Richard moved to the next photo, Catherine's grave, fresh flowers. You go every week, Evelyn said, surprised. Every Tuesday, her favorite day. He touched the frame gently. I loved her wrong, but I loved her true. That's not enough. No, but it's what I had to give. Father and daughter faced each other. I'm not going back, Evelyn said. To that life, that performance. I know. I'm staying with Ethan. I know. I might be happy. I hope so. Richard's voice cracked. God, I hope so. And if I'm not, if this fails, then you'll have tried. That's more than I ever did. They embraced, awkward but real. Over Evelyn's shoulder, Richard nodded to Ethan. Not approval exactly, but acknowledgement. There's something else, Richard said, pulling back. Your grandmother's will. A codicil I never knew about. He handed Evelyn an envelope. She read, gasped. 40% of the company. To the Sterling woman brave enough to choose love over duty. Her words. But how did she know? She didn't, but she hoped. Your grandmother eloped, you know. Before my father caught her, brought her back, made her respectable. She hoped someone would succeed where she failed. This is everything. No, it's money. Everything is what you already have. Across the gallery, someone gasped, then another. They turned to see Marcus in the doorway, thinner, haunted, but there. I couldn't run, he said to the room, but looking at Sarah. Turns out I'm tired of performing too. The people you owe, Sarah started, are being handled. FBI deal, I testify they protect. He approached his sister. You saved me. You saved yourself by coming back. I had a good teacher. He looked at the photographs and we're all so desperate, aren't we? We're all so human, Lily corrected. Same thing. The opening continued, but the original players had rewritten their roles. Richard talking to Thomas about cars. Marcus apologizing to Evelyn, meaning it. Sarah and Lily no longer hiding. Ethan belonging without trying. 6 months after, the new garage sat between the old one and a coffee shop expanded with Sterling money, but still maintaining its Southie soul. The sign read, Cross in Sterling Automotive, which made Evelyn laugh every time. She was under a car when Jenna arrived, now pregnant and glowing. "You've got oil in your hair," Jenna said. "I've got oil wish everywhere." Evelyn rolled out grinning. "It's wonderful." "You're insane." "I'm free." They sat on crates drinking coffee from chipped mugs. "Your father called," Jenna said. "Wanted to know if you're happy." "What did you tell him?" "The truth, that you're dirty and exhausted and absolutely radiant." "He's trying. He's succeeding. The Henderson contract alone will set you up for years." "That's Ethan's success, not mine. You're building something together. That's both of yours." Ethan emerged from the office, phone in hand. "That was hospice. Thomas is asking for us." The drive was quiet. Thomas had weeks left, maybe days. The strong man who'd raised Ethan was disappearing, but his eyes remained bright. "My boys," he said when they entered. Then to Evelyn, "My daughter." She kissed his forehead. In the months since everything changed, Thomas had become the father she'd needed, supportive, without conditions, proud, without ownership. "I have something," Thomas said, pointing to a box. Inside were letters, hundreds of them, all addressed to Catherine Sterling, all unsent. 30 years of things I never said," he explained. "Burn them or read them, but don't carry them." "Thomas, let me finish." He gripped Ethan's hand. "You two get what we couldn't have. Don't waste it on fear or duty or other people's expectations. Love hard, fight fair, build something real." "We will," Ethan promised. "And Richard?" "What about him?" "Yaman, forgive him. He's just another man who loved wrong, but tried." 3 days later, Thomas Cross died in his sleep. The funeral filled the garage, strange mix of Southie mechanics and Boston elite. Richard Sterling gave the eulogy, speaking about bridges between worlds, second chances, and the courage to love. After, in the apartment above the garage, Evelyn found Ethan reading the letters. "He loved her every day," Ethan said, "even after she was gone, even after he found happiness with my mom. He loved her. And she loved him." "How do you know?" Evelyn pulled out her own box letters her mother never sent. Same dates, same longing, same regret. They sat surrounded by their parents' ghosts, understanding that love persists despite time, distance, death. "I don't want to wait 30 years to say things," Ethan said. "Then don't. Marry me, Jay. That's not a question. It's not supposed to be. It's a declaration. Marry me. We've known each other 8 months. I've loved you for 3 years. My father, Shaw, gave his blessing yesterday. The business will survive or it won't, but we will." She kissed him instead of answering, but he knew. They married on a Tuesday in October, 1 year after that night in the rain. The ceremony was in the garage, of course. 50 people among the cars and tools and dreams. Sarah officiated, having gotten ordained online. Lily was Evelyn's witness, James was Ethan's. Evelyn wore her mother's dress altered to fit. Ethan wore Thomas's only suit. The rings were made from metal, salvaged from the Mustang's original parts. "Do you, Evelyn Sterling, take this man even though he stalked you for 3 years?" Sarah asked. "That's not traditional." Evelyn laughed. "Nothing about this is traditional. Answer the question." "I do." "Do you, Ethan Cross, take this woman even though she initially paid you to love her?" "Best investment she ever made." "I do." "Then by the power vested in me by the internet in the state of Massachusetts, I pronounce you married. Kiss like you mean it." They did. The reception was at the diner where Ethan had taken Evelyn that first night. They'd bought out the place, mixed Sterling champagne with Southie beer. Richard danced with Lily. Marcus, now running a legitimate business consulting firm, talked recovery with James. Sarah photographed everything, but gently with love. "No regrets?" Ethan asked as they swayed to Fleetwood Mac. "One," Evelyn said. "What?" "That our parents couldn't see this." "They can." "You believe that?" "I believe love persists in cars that smell like perfume and letters never sent in children who succeed where parents failed." "That's beautiful." "That's you. You make me believe beautiful things." At midnight, they drove away in the Mustang, cans rattling behind. In the glove compartment, 2 letters, one from Catherine to Thomas, one from Thomas to Catherine, finally delivered through their children, 5 years. Hence, the garage had expanded to 3 locations, but the original remained Evelyn's favorite. She stood in the doorway watching their 4-year-old daughter, Catherine Thomas Cross, help Ethan with an oil change. "She's got motor oil in her hair," Richard said, approaching with coffee. "Genetic?" Evelyn replied. "From which side?" "Both." They watched Ethan lift little Cat, her chosen nickname, onto his shoulders. She squealed, leaving handprints on everything. "Your mother would have loved this," Richard said. "She does love it." "You believe that?" "I believe love finds a way, even if it takes 30 years and 2 generations. Marcus arrived with his husband, a doctor who treated him during recovery. Sarah and Lily followed their adopted son, toddling between them. "Family meeting?" Evelyn asked. "Family gathering," Sarah corrected. "There's a difference." They sat in the garage, all these people who'd started as performances and became real. The children played among the tools, the adults talked about ordinary things, and somewhere maybe Thomas and Catherine watched their families finally truly whole. "Hey," Ethan said, pulling Evelyn aside. "You happy?" She looked at their chaotic, mismatched, impossible family, at the garage that smelled like hope and motor oil, at the man who'd saved her from traffic and herself. "I'm free," she said. "Same thing." "No, freedom was the beginning. This is the destination." "What's this, home?" He kissed her, and she tasted coffee and truth and tomorrow. Outside Boston churned on all its performances and pretenses. But inside the garage, among the broken things being made whole, there was only love. Real love. The kind that persists